And now, Winging It. Number 37, Part 2. First tracks, first albums. Good choices.
All right, how about Steely Dan, Do It Again? This was a hint of the distinct and unmistakable Steely Dan sound, but it's just the tip of the iceberg, of course. Very strong inaugural number, I think. Wicked electric sitar solo. When was the last time you saw that, huh? Not much.
Try never.
Love this one, I think, personally. Good going, guys. Good on you.
I think it's a great way to open it. I'm trying to, when you say that, because I still have to process, like, what is their sound? Or I'm thinking of their other songs.
And I'd have to remember the songs that are on that particular album, you know. I mean, there are other ones you could maybe have started with first.
Yeah.
That rock a little harder. This one's very mysterious and beautiful, but...
that's kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking of their other song. I'm thinking maybe I would have put this as number 2. I don't know that it's a bad choice for number 1, but I also don't know that it's indicative of that album, what the album's going to sound like. And for some reason, that's kind of what I want. I want you to give, when I'm doing it, and I want you to give me a hint of what's coming. Not just like of part of what's coming, but I want you to kind of give me a snapshot with that first song, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I'm not sure it did that, but it's not a bad start. I just think there might have been a stronger one.
I agree, too. Yeah, in the second half of the 70s or so, around that time, a number of groups emerged that seemed to be doing something new, and we're used to it now, but back then it was really kind of new. And among them was Boston with their introductory single and first album track, More Than a Feeling. On that, they displayed their flair for vocal and guitar harmonies that were really a hallmark of theirs. And the song still, though, it rocks. It gets to rock enough. And it's good pop, and then it gets hard. You know, it's typical Boston. It's brilliant stuff, I think. What do you think?
No, I think that's a great way to open that. I think it's very indicative of their sound. I think it definitely sets you up for what you're about to receive. Though, again, you know, they have a range. It's not that they're boxing themselves in with it, but it really feel like it sets the tone. And it also lets you know there's more like this to come, but don't discount what we're about to do. We're going to blow your mind in a different way. So I think it's great, and it's obviously a great song.
It's a fantastic song, and it hints at the hard and truly hard. You know, you think about Boston, the first thing you think of is all these harmonies, and they're so sweet and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of blinds you almost to the fact, or it can, that they rock really hard.
They do.
I mean, songs like Smokin' and Foreplay. I mean, Foreplay, I defy you to find anything heavier than that. I mean, Foreplay is one of the heaviest things you'll ever hear.
Yeah. I hate it when people discount bands like this because they're pop, like Foreigner, Boston. You know, I'm like, hey, they can rock real hard. Don't mess with them.
Foreigner? Shit, yeah. I saw Foreigner back in the day. Yeah,
come on.
I saw Boston and Foreigner, same place, actually, New Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, my God.
Brilliant stuff.
Absolutely.
Foreigner, Boston, Sammy Hagar opened for Boston.
What?
And Nick Gilder opened for Foreigner.
Now, the Nick Gilder part, holy shit.
Yeah.
Come on. And the Sammy Hagar part, I go, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
The live album, All Night Long, that's what I saw. Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, What I Am. Come on now. I know you love that one, right? Did I make that up too, or do you actually love that?
I absolutely love this song, and I love Edie Brickell. I love her voice. I love, Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians. Let's not discount them. They're there. A brilliant song, a great way to open it. Definitely quirky, fun, poppy, kind of alternative, folky. It's perfect. It was a great way to open it because that's who she is as an artist. So it's great.
It totally nails it. I mean, absolute knockout choice of this one.
Absolutely.
It's slinky. It's smirky. It's arresting. You know, it's winks at you and nudges you and everything.
It's really. I think it's a sexy
so
little song.
And so hot. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful song. And an old beau of hers, a fellow you might have heard of, called Paul Simon.
Oh, I know him.
His first solo album, Paul Simon's Songbook, started out with a song that would later become a hit for Simon and Garfunkel, and that's how we think of it. But again, we're going back and pretending that didn't happen yet. It was his first, and of course he wrote it, obviously, I Am a Rock. Now, come on. It's just a super powerful tune. Again, we have an artist who's not a hard rocker to begin with. So you can't be going for that when you're opening.
No.
Considering what he does and everything, this is very strong. I mean, with lyrics like "I won't disturb the slumber of feelings that have died. If I never loved, I never would have cried." I mean, it's a brilliant song, you know.
Yeah, beautiful lyrics.
So yeah, I think that was a good choice on his part. What do you think?
Yeah, Yeah, I think it definitely was a good choice. Like you said, he's not a rocker, but I think it also lets you know what he's about to do. And of course, I do think of it as a Simon and Garfunkel song, but I'm aware that it was a Simon song previously. I think it's a great way to open up. I mean, absolutely for him. And even if they do have rockers, if a song that's more mid-tempo or even a ballad is going to better represent their sound, then they should start with that. But starting strong is kind of subjective. But the band knows what they're trying to convey, and they know how they want to hit the person who's listening to it. And I think this is a perfect thing to do.
Yeah, see, if you open with that, and it's something that people just love, and then you get harder,
yes,
they feel even better.
That's right. They're
and of course, he and they rock harder than that. I mean, they're actually more of a rocking band than we tend to think. I mean, when I heard Hazy Shade of Winter for the first time, I had missed it. I thought it was a Bangles song.
Oh, God.
I swear, I had missed it somehow, and I've been listening to them my whole life. I missed that, and I thought, wow, great fucking song, ladies. And I listened to the original, and it rocks just as much.
It rocks more.
I mean, it's acoustic, but it rocks,
Yeah, it does. And I don't want to take away from this, but, one of the things that one of the bands that we already talked about where people don't like that they rock harder is U2. They want U2 to stay in the nice, neat little box, the little, kind of very, very heart forward. We're very, very sensitive young men. They want them to stay in the Joshua Tree era. And you know what? They can fucking rock. So I say let people rock. So I hope that people wouldn't maybe listen to Paul Simon, this kind of chill song, and then when it gets a little harder, they go, oh, I'm out. I hope you allow artists to breathe and spread their wings and let them be both soft and hard. I mean, because we all have that in us. I mean, we do ballads too, even though we're a hard rock band. So I just saying, I mean, let all these people breathe. Let them show you everything they have instead of just saying, I want you to play folk only.
I mean, that would be, you'd be cutting off your nose to spite your face so
you
much.
Would.
I mean, look at, we're used to Elton John. We're used to going from Your Song to Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, which is one of the hardest songs that ever hit the top 40, And it's good when people do that. I mean,
I think so too.
Even the Bee Gees do some hard rock tucked away on their albums with lots of guitar solos and shit. I mean, it's great to. I never object. Hello, artists of the world. To all the artists of the world. I hear telling you in advance, I don't mind if you go hard.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Go hard, go soft, do you. Just do just let it run the full gambit. Don't let any fans or anything, even record companies, whatever, hold you down. Just do you.
Do the full Monty. Here I am being kind of hypocritical because we're going to be talking about that on another show that you want to tune into.
Oh, wow.
About people doing stuff that's not typical of them and it not being received terribly well.
Oh.
Or maybe it is. I don't know. It's about changing.
Oh.
Anyway, but we're not talking about changing now. We're talking about new stuff. We're talking about brand new albums by brand new acts. Imagine if you were back in the day. And if you're a nerdcore surf punk dance band, also named after a military bomber plane, what the fuck is up with that? Then it just makes sense.
Epidemic.
Yeah, to have your first album start with a sci-fi song about a planet with pink air, red trees, and a headless population. That just adds up, the place I speak of course, Planet Claire. None of us were expecting Fred Schneider at that time, I can tell you that much. And his hysterical vocals and the beautiful harmonies and individual vocals of their two foxy ladies, Kate and Cindy, resplendent in their beehive hairdos. And once you saw and heard the B-52s, there was no unseeing or unhearing them. And you'd never want to either. I love this group personally, and I think it's a great song to start with.
Well, because the whole shack shimmies.
When everybody's moving. And they do when they hear the B-52s. I
like that you called them foxy. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to call those two ladies hot, foxy works because of the whole persona that they embodied. It works really well.
It sounds like something Fred would say.
It does, yeah. They're very foxy. Yeah, yeah, very interesting.
Foxy ladies.
I remember the first.
If you look at it, it's got to be in there somewhere.
It has to. The first time I listened to the B-52s, I was put off by him. He's definitely, he's my least favorite part of the B-52s. But if he wasn't there, they wouldn't be the B-52s. But I just was like, oh, why is that? What is that guy doing? Shut up. Shut up. Those ladies are shut up. They're singing.
I'm up here with these two foxy ladies.
Yeah,
it's so Fred.
It should be in there. I mean, I've grown accustomed to him. I would not choose to have a Fred on stage with me, but I think he works well for them, and I think that song's a good opening. I do think it definitely defines their sound to some degree, or at least gives you a good glimpse into what their sound is. I agree.
And come on, nobody could take Fred's place on those songs like Love Shack.
Right. I mean,
the universe depends on it.
Nobody needs to have that spot on that song. It would have been okay without it.
Well, it's a good song with just the two Foxy ladies.
That's exactly correct. Exactly. I say it's a stroke of luck that he got into that band and they allowed that shit.
I'm not going to argue that point. It had to be some kind of serendipity. It's one of those harmonic convergence things.
That's
because,
right.
It seems unlikely. We're talking Flavor Flav level here.
Seriously, yeah. It wasn't like he had some sexy crooning. I mean, that's not hot.
Fred's. If you're a lady, Fred's hot. All right, in 1970, you might have dropped a disc onto your player with the downright dull green Warner Brothers label. Really, guys, what's up with that? It was
no imagination.
Green. It was the most boring thing I've ever seen. Mercury looked good.
Chrysalis was amazing. Come on,
fantastic.
Even Rhino was great. A little rhino going around.
Electra, come on.
on.
And honestly, my heart goes pitter pat when I see Atlantic.
Oh yeah,
I love that friggin' label. I just love it. And
a lot of Motown.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
Motown's a beautiful, beautiful label. Well, if you put this one on, you would have heard a rather gentle thunderstorm and the pealing of a church bell before 3 malevolent notes blow you across the room like harbingers of doom. Black Sabbath had arrived on the music scene, and it would never be the same. They had had enough of hippy-dippy peace and love stuff. Never mind the hand gesture singer Ozzy Osbourne is always flashing. And they were bringing something darker and heavier. And their self-titled song from their self-titled album plays the same 3 notes over and over again until...
you want to kill yourself.
Yeah, well, at varying levels of intensity. It's a little plodding. It's a little slow.
A little.
But until the final... buzzing, almost militaristic riff plays into the 4 last notes, and the slam bang finale, consisting of 2 chords, really, supports guitarist Tony Iommi's shrieking but surprisingly accessible for losers like me guitar solo, and then a few more bashes, and you're left kind of blinking. There's really no stronger way to open, although pleasant surprises are coming up because there's a lot of faster, better stuff. But it's perhaps a little bit of an ordeal first to subject the audience to. I think they could have done better. It should be on this beginning of side 2, perhaps, when they're already hooked.
B-side.
Yeah, no. Oh, shit. Sorry, guys. Put it on the... Darn it, we're going to lose some British listeners here. Ozzy's going to tune out, You
know what? I'm okay with that.
We've unfortunately, we've taken the piss out of Ozzy a couple times.
We've lost Ozzy.
And Marilyn Manson don't listen
anymore.
They're
not listening anymore. No.
Anyway, the debut album was recorded in 12 hours, and that's pretty damn good. But it's still revered and influential to this day, as it should be. But perhaps rearranged a little bit. I think just a little bit.
Do some rearranging.
There are songs that flow so well together there, but the first one, no.
Yeah, no.
Put the Wizard first, okay? Then, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's the
that would have been better.
It's the second track anyway. Start with the harmonica. I saw John Tesh playing that with the Dweezil Zappa one night on TV. It was badass.
That's unfortunate.
He was wearing a strapped-on keyboard. It was so cool.
I'm kind of out. But the problem is it's kind of meandering.
The Wizard?
No.
Oh, Black Sabbath.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. It feels like the endless song, especially if you're hearing it for the first time. Oh no!
You
don't want to do that.
They got to get you at the right level of receptivity,
Right.
But the thing is, the Wizard is going to get you anyway.
It's going to kick your ass. Yeah.
The Wizard is like, we don't give a shit what you're doing.
Yeah, we don't give a shit.
You're going to love this.
Yeah. So you're like the Wizard. I'm like, no. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Black Sabbath.
I'm defending the Wizard.
Hey, do what you got to do. Just don't defend Ozzy to me.
And despite
it's indefensible.
No, he is good, and Bruce and I were discussing this the other day.
Well, you're both wrong.
The first 2 albums were good.
Both wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to say I don't.
The albums are fine.
Yeah, the first 2 albums.
I just wish he wasn't on them, and it would have been better.
He's kind of an asset.
No, he's not.
I mean, he's not.
He's an ass.
He's not irreplaceable, but he's an
ass. He's not irreplaceable. He's an ass, and anybody else? No, not anybody else, but. Almost anybody else could have sang, and I would have been happier.
Yeah, he's replaceable. He's been actually replaced many times.
Which is perfect. Good idea.
So has the lead singer of Australia's Lovely Lads, by reason of death, AC/DC. They started their first album with... Well, come on. Can we be honest? It doesn't really matter what song they start with.
They all sound the same.
They all sound the same.
Yeah.
Still, it's a classic, though, and it's a long way to the top. If You Want to Rock and Roll is an irresistibly breezy track with a fun video featuring singer Bon Scott playing bagpipes, and it was even covered by the venerable Pat Boone.
You cannot throw around the C word. so carelessly.
The C word?
Classic.
Oh, classic.
I refuse.
I don't want to
allow you to do that.
I don't want to cheapen that brilliant word.
Yeah, because
okay.
you said that's the C word. I can't have you. I can't abide by that. I'm going to have to stop you right there. It is not a classic.
There has to be a word for there has to be a word for acceptable songs.
Relic.
And hey, I mean, if they're too much for you, listen to Pat's version. It's very cool. It's on Spotify. Pat
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be all right. I've already heard all of it at least secondhand a few dozen times through you.
It's a kick to hear him singing about the line about getting stoned, though. It's fun. Yeah. Getting stoned. If you're AC/DC, though, you might as well start with this one. They probably just dropped slips of paper with song titles into a bowl and fished one out. Because
That's probably.
It doesn't matter. Well, our next band, consisting of ex-members of Free and Mott the Hoople, pooled their resources, also had a self-titled album with a self-titled song, but that's not the one that opens Bad Company. That was Can't Get Enough. And I say yeah to that one because it's good old-fashioned rock and roll with a nice dual guitar solo with Mick Rouse and singer Paul Rogers. I kind of think, they do better, but putting a good foot forward, it still sounds great today, and going upward and knocking the audience out, it's not going to put you off. You're going to be wanting to hear more, and then they're going to elevate, and then they're going to exceed your expectations. So it's a pretty good opening track. I love that one.
Agree to disagree.
I agree to disagree? Okay.
Yeah, I like the song.
Oh, yeah, and you like them. I know you like them.
I love them. He's one of my favorite voices ever, but not a strong opening for me. It's okay, but there's open strong. If you're Bad Company, open super strong. Don't open kind of like,
I bought a record once. It was supposed to be like all their best shit and everything. Yeah, I buy records. Laugh at me. It's okay. I'll pause here so you can laugh at me, but I buy records.
So do
he buys records.
I buy records too. I just selectively buy records.
But the track listing was correct, but it wasn't like the original studio versions. It was a live reunion concert. It was brilliant. These guys were so badass too. Paul Rogers, Bad Company, terrific group. Mick Rouse. And pretty amazing seeming at the time, the decidedly dangerous-looking Guns N' Roses began their decidedly dangerously titled debut album, Appetite for Destruction, with the decidedly dangerous-sounding Welcome to the Jungle. What can you say? I think it's one of the best things they could have done, saving Paradise City for later. What do you think about that as a choice?
I agree. I definitely think it's a great choice. And of course, because I love Paradise City so much, my brain says, open with it. But you know what? Welcome to the Jungle definitely, I think, gets you ready for what's about to come, the onslaught. Because Appetite for Destruction, I'm sorry, even if you hate Guns N' Roses, it's a brilliant fucking album.
It's a brilliant album.
And it just is.
They ain't putting you to sleep with Welcome to the Jungle.
No, that song, there's so much like recklessness in that song, and then the screaming, and then the danger, and there's just all kinds of stuff going on in that song that I think gets you ready for what's about to happen. And Paradise City opening that album, I think they would have blown their load right there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
build up to that.
That's even more unbelievable.
Unbelievable. That's just, that song is crazy. And I love that you and I agree on that, like how great that song is.
Oh, it's every note. It's a white room. It's every single note
amazing.
Is perfection. Yep.
Absolutely. And I never turn it off. If it comes on, I never turn off Paradise City. Ever.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. That's a discussion that might presciently be coming up at another time.
Oh, my.
You might be being prescient here because
I do that.
Some things get tired and some things don't. Some things get played, and maybe we'll be talking about that on a show they should be listening to.
How interesting.
There was a band, and I know you're familiar with this band, who was named after an involuntary eye spasm you have while sleeping.
REM.
And they began their first recorded record, murmuring about Radio Free Europe. I think REM made a good call there, too. They have a very distinctive sound, and that's a good thing to do as a band. If you have a sound that nobody's heard before, lead with it, like Emerson, Lake and Palmer did. Mm-hmm. Well, I think REM did, too. And it was a really strong, powerful opening, so good for them. What do you think? As a fan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Radio Free Europe is a song that is going to really get you ready for REM, kind of what they do. I think it's great. I'm glad they started with that song. REM is one of those bands that at the time didn't sound like anybody else.
And they established that right out of the gate.
Exactly. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you don't sound like anybody else, and here's what it is. Even though it was a pseudo hit online, it wasn't like a runaway hit like, let's say, Losing My Religion later, right? It wasn't like that, but it let you know.
Thank God for AOR radio, you know?
Right.
WPDH Poughkeepsie, I love you forever. You know?
Exactly. So, no, I think it was a brilliant choice, again, to introduce themselves as a unique entity. Absolutely.
Hell yeah, I would totally agree. And then comes the era of techno creepery. A certain band began their career on an upward spiral. With
I see what you did there.
So subtle.
Oh, shit.
Very subtle. Picking
man.
up on these subtle hints. Thank goodness.
I know. Look, I mean, I'm brilliant. I picked the most subtle.
See, this is the kind of person you want to co-host with. She picks up on subtle hints, and she's really, really easily amused. You hear all this laughing. It's like, I'm not
sure whether to say fuck you or
I'm not saying anything funny. I mean, capable of being funny.
Oh my God. Is there something sort of heavy I could throw at you? Oh my God.
Well, they began their career on an upward spiral with an exhortation to bow down before the one you serve. Okay, 9 Inch Nails.
Come on.
Head Like a Hole. I've talked about this on another show, and I said it. I appreciate them. I'm not the biggest fan. But that's
a problem.
Brilliant, kick-ass opening track. I mean, I know how talented Trent Reznor is. It's just I don't want to hear a lot of it for some reason.
That's too bad, yeah.
But that's a hell of an opening song. It's about as good as it's going to get for them. And you, what do you think? You apparently agree.
I mean, it's a brilliant opening. There's no reason after you hear that song that you shouldn't want to hear more and more and more and more. So that doesn't make sense, but we'll talk about you not making sense later. But yeah, I think it's a brilliant way. It's a song you don't forget. I mean, if you hear that once, you're going around the rest of the day going, bow down before the one. You're just doing it.
Yeah.
Head like a hole. It's just,
yeah,
I mean,
it's
just got that, you know, that you're not, it's
you can't.
Earwig.
Yeah,
it's
an
earwig. And it's poppy, but it's dark and it's hard and it's electronic. It's all the things you want. A great time for it. And Trent Reznor, I mean, seriously, if you haven't listened to his entire catalog, you are missing out. And I'm sorry you don't want to. We'll work on that.
It is hard, dark, gothic, and just somehow manages to be that earworm we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just
absolutely.
One of those, to combine that with an undeniable hook, pop sensibility, numerous hooks.
Absolutely.
It was brilliant. I got
done.
I'll bow down before the one I serve there for a minute.
No, you should. Bow down.
Now, of course, again, considering that we're talking about only having material from the first album available to lead off, you can't cherry pick from the whole career. That'd be nice.
That would.
So, considering that, I don't know if it was a great idea for Madonna to start with Lucky Star.
I'm out. No.
Yeah, bad move. Her music was a little oh, geez, I was going to say, what is Dick's version? Area.
What the fuck?
Area.
It was a little area.
About 12 square feet, you know.
At least about 12 square, yeah.
All right, her music was a little airier back then, shall we say, but I still think this was not a great move.
No.
As soon as this agreeable dance track ends, you're treated to the much more substantial Borderline.
Yes.
That's much better.
That should have been the opening track.
Yeah. And all is well. It was the early days of MTV, and she became the queen almost overnight.
Yes, absolutely.
The album has been credited for setting the standard of dance pop for decades afterward, and for pointing the direction for numerous female artists of the 80s. And that's probably true.
Oh, I agree.
And there is some hellaciously good stuff on it.
There
but
is.
She just got better and better.
But Borderline should have been the song.
Yeah.
It should have been.
Even first album or not, it's a strong song.
It is. It really is.
All right. Already established in 1979, a couple years prior to Madonna, another video and radio queen began her first album with a song that was just perfect for folks looking for something to rock out to in the heat of the night. That's a hint there.
Oh, my God.
Pat Bennett, another hint, subtle hint. Pat Benatar, Heartbreaker. Good first impression. I think there is little question about that. Or is there?
No, there's no. It's a brilliant first impression. She's a hard rocker. She's a badass. She's got, I mean, talk about range. You said Chrissie Hynde had range.
Songwriting range, actually. Not
okay, because
vocally,
you were
not
confusing me about that, because this lady has nothing but range. She's got range to spare. No one touches her. I mean, Ann Wilson is one of my favorites, but she doesn't sing like that.
No,
Pat Benatar is in a class all of her own.
She kind of is, and this was a pretty good showcase for her. And
yes.
Neil Giraldo, who would go on to become hubby eventually, and are still together. God bless them,
and playing out,
That's right. All right, so nice eyes, and the granddaddy of all opening songs. I think a certain fellow who had been in a duo prior, and had even been recruited to sing 5 songs, no less, on Ted Nugent's second album. Replacing the rhythm guitarist and singer, co-lead singer that was having a beef with the Alpha Dog, and as well as having been in the Rocky Horror Show, the first solo album by Meatloaf, written by Jim Steinman, begins with the title track "Bat Out of Hell." This is where hands clap over sewer holes reflexively, if anyone has anything to say. Never mind the finale, which is going out with a whisper. That's a case where it just works.
It works.
This disc unleashes its entire arsenal straight up front. It hits you as hard as it's ever going to, and goes and ends in a poignant whisper. It's just an incredible thing. And that first track, all in one first track. I mean, 8 minutes of high drama, downright operatic. Producer Todd Rundgren going completely berserk on guitar. And as far as the song itself, if the road our narrator was hauling along on his silver black Phantom bike had anywhere near as many twists and turns as this magnum opus does, then it's no wonder he ends up dying at the bottom of a pit in the blazing sun. That's not a surprise at all, because you can't keep up with this song, in a good way. Though he can certainly be cheesy and angsty, Jim Steinman, the composer, hits like a ton of bricks with this masterful tour de force. The album that nobody wanted to make and was rejected by 1,000 record companies ended up being one of the biggest selling and longest charting albums of all time, hitting you like a sledgehammer with 2 opening chords and ending with a haunting churchy coda with bells and a choir-like female vocal. It's a great way to begin an album and a concert and a career, which I saw him doing it in concert that way. And I think this one is kind of bulletproof, and you seem to have indicated you agree.
I definitely agree, because I think that first track is, can you handle what's about to come? And if you can't handle this track, you can't handle the rest of this album, so just get the fuck out now.
Yeah, I mean, it's never going to be that wild,
but
it's
but you know what?
It gives you enough reason to invest, that's for sure.
It's a roller coaster in the best way. I mean, if you're going to go, they just kind of go balls out, and if you're in for that ride, then just keep going. It's not going to be that crazy, but you're going to experience different levels of crazy the entire time. So if you're on board with that, you can hang. So I think it's a brilliant way to start an album. Of course, I don't think it's good for every band to start that way, but I think when you are Meatloaf and you're doing something as unconventional as that, fuck yeah, hit them over the head.
Hit them hard. Do
it.
Well, that was the end of WXPN's list, minus a few judicial cuts. Believe it or not, that wasn't the exhaustive list of all time. As long as it was, Christina's rolling her eyes like, really?
There was a lot,
It seemed like a lot.
Well,
yes,
I mean, but
you might get this in 2 installments. I don't know.
But it's hard to pare down all of those. There's a lot.
I don't think there was any. There were any duds. A couple of duds, like ones like what, not anymore. That can easily go.
Yeah.
But there were a couple. The reason I noticed myself realizing when thinking of acts that might have been on there and notable first album tracks to me, and even groups who are still operating today from all those years ago, there are songs that really aren't that well known. They might have gotten some radio play, but they weren't exactly hits, and so they just wouldn't have ended up on a list like that. But I think Aerosmith totally killed it with Make It as a good album opener and a concert opener. And Blondie probably fired half their guns on their first album, their first tune, Ex Offender. And they called it such because rather than using the idea and the lyric from the actual song, Sex Offender, because they were afraid for perhaps being snubbed by the programmers. So they called it X, not as in former, but the letter X, Offender. To the extent of my ability to understand what songs are even about, it appears to be a kind of a quirky, fun little tune about a prostitute developing a serious crush and infatuation on the police officer who's arresting her. And she longs for the day when she'll get out and actually get into an actual experience with the handsome Loa Man. So it's a kind of an amusing song. I don't know if you know it or not, but mostly I couldn't think of any because they covered an awful lot. Do you have any?
I only have one that I thought was obviously, it's,
I might have judiciously cut them, actually.
No, I don't think you did. No,
Yeah.
I don't think you did. This one is very much like the Black Sabbath, where it's the title track off the album of the same name.
Oh.
But that's not the name of the band's, but it's George Michael's Faith, and the first song is Faith. First track. And I think, this was his first solo album. And I think that you would have to have hit hard like that. He did have I Want Your Sex on it, but it is the title track of the album of the same name. I Want Your Sex was not as popular, but it was controversial, so it could have been interesting. But I think Faith was a good, solid opening. He could have opened with Monkey, because Monkey was a huge hit. But Faith, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I happened across Faith playing in some setting recently, and I was digging it. I was moving. I was starting to move,
Yeah.
to the song. It's a good rocking opener. He'll save the real heart-rending stuff for later on. It's a great, strong, fun opening track, and it unleashes his talent on you from outright in his first solo album. Good choice, yes.
Absolutely. So that was the only one that I had to offer that came to my mind. I was thinking, that was a really great first opening, so that's all. But that was a really interesting winging it. I think you should do more winging it.
It takes, it was really their idea. I'm just babbled and I just prattled incoherently about their idea about first albums, first songs, because it's something I had thought about before. And then when I saw there was an actual list to do a lot of the legwork for me, I thought I'll make a winging out of that and act real magnanimous and stuff, like I'm shouldering some of the load,
Yes, and you can shoulder more of the load. They're looking forward to hearing that, shouldering.
I think I'm good, actually, yeah.
No, it's okay. No.
Okay. Well, I guess that brings us to the end, and that only leaves for you to say...
Let's fly this coop.
This has been Birds of a Feather on What the Flock Radio.